Hey, how's it going, Ignacio? Hey, it is super good to spend some time with you. And man, I'm excited. I've been hearing all about it, and you gave me a little bug in the ear. Hey, something to clue me in on some incredible and awesome new training that you're putting together. Hactrix training and ARTE, is that right? AWS Red Team Expert?
Yeah, that is correct. I'm super excited too, and I'm glad to be here sharing it with you and hopefully showing the rest of the world that this training is going to be amazing.
I'm super excited about it because, for one thing, hey, it's coming from two of my greatest friends, and I know that you are absolute wizards, always doing incredible things in cloud security, cloud hacking, and AWS is even just the first foray into that. I know there's more coming, but do you have any super cool demos or show and tell or something to even just be able to see all the things that folks might learn in that training?
Yeah, let's go ahead and share my screen, and I'll show you a bit the website, and we will walk through some of the demos and labs that we have on our course. So let me share my screen. This is what you'll see when you visit our website, which is training.hactrix.xyz. We first have a landing page where you can see more info about the ARTE certification and where you can buy it down here. But once you've bought it, you will have a user area, and you'll see here your actual progress through the course and the time you have left, all of that. So let's go ahead and actually see what a lesson would look like when you're doing the course. So down here on the side, we have all the lessons. And the one I wanted to show you first was around IAM, which is Identity Access Management. So let's click into it. You would be able to see this 31-minute video of Carlos just talking through you the service, what it does, what you're looking for when you're trying to exploit the service and take advantage of it. And then we go straight into the labs. We're going to be doing this one, which is IAM update, assume role policy, and then STS assume role. So for those that are not familiar with AWS, you have users and roles, and you can assume roles from different entities. Like, for example, if you have a user that can assume a role, you can assume it. And that gives you the permissions of the role. So in this case, we're given some access keys. These are for a user. So let's go ahead and export those to my terminal so we can use the AWS CLI. So just exporting those, and now we can run AWS STS get caller identity, and this will show us who we are. And as we can see, we are IAM Lab 3 start point, and this is a user. Cool. So now let's check what this user can do. For all of these labs, the users they have permissions to view their own permissions. So it's like a white box scenario, just because we want you to learn the specifics of each technique. Then we also have other labs that are black box, just to show you other methodologies. But for this one, it's all white box. So we are first listing the attached policies for this user. And this is the only policy this user has. So this contains the permissions of the user. So let's go ahead and actually get that policy so we can see what we can do. Just with the get policy version command, we're getting version 1. And we can see some of these permissions are the ones that are allowing us to audit the permissions of this user. And then we also have here some permissions to update the role policy and to assume a role for this target role. IAM Lab 3 target role. So let's go ahead and get that role so we can see the details of the role. We can do that also with the get role command. And here is the details of the role. We can see the assume policy here. And this says that only the service EC2 can assume the role. But we want to also be able to assume the role from our user. So what we're going to do is update that role policy, that assume policy. So I have here a new policy that also has the EC2 one, but it also includes an AWS principal, which is my starter user. So IAM Lab 3 start point. So when we go ahead and run this command to update the assume policy, this won't have any output, but now what we can do is try to assume the role with STS assume role. And as we can see, it was successful and we get some credentials. These credentials will provide us access to the new role. And now if we run AWS STS get core identity again, we should see that we are the assumed role. I am lab 3. And the test thing here is just because when we run the assumed role, we gave the session this name called test. So now to actually finish the lab, we need to get a flag. All the flags, or most of them at least, for these labs are in Secrets Manager, which is another AWS service. So from this role, we are able to list all the secrets, and I'm going to grep for IAM, so it's easier to spot the one. Oh, I need to be on the previous one. Oh. You're just going to believe me that this is the ARN of the role, because I had to do the list secrets from the previous user. This role right now doesn't have this access. We could see here in the policy of the user that we looked into before, this user had Secrets Manager list secrets.
Gotcha.
But the current role that we have doesn't have it. So that's where we would have run the list secrets command from the previous user, and we would have learned the secret ARN here. And therefore, we can just get the secret value for that secret. And here is our flag, which I'm fine with showing in the video because these are individually generated flags. So each user will have their own flag, which is something that we've always talked about for our CTF job. And I'm super proud to do this in Hacktricks training. So that's the first one that we're going to show. And any thoughts on it?
Excellent. I mean, I think it's awesome because, look, I know you mentioned, hey, this is kind of a small one. This is a simple thing. It's just, hey, finding new access that you can gain that capability into to then do even more, access new things like pull from secrets, just like that. But it's so cool to me because AWS and Amazon Web Services is just like massive. It is overwhelming and confusing, and it hurts my small brain. So just being able to see, look, these are all of the puzzle pieces and they're laid out in this progression, like even just the different sections that you have for the lab. That's really, really cool to me because I've never been able to find sane and smart and curated and like actual curriculum of learning everything that is AWS, especially in the sake of security, especially for ethical hacking. So again, this is just really, really cool, and it's blowing my mind. But if I may, I'd love to ask you, how would you hold this thing, and what would you do to say, like, look, this is super duper valuable? Why is it so relevant? Why is it so important to know AWS hacking, especially in the realm of cloud security?
Specifically about AWS, I think it's the most used cloud service provider currently. I think I once read that around 1/3 of the internet is hosted by AWS, which is crazy. And also, it's so flexible and so complex there's so many options for configuration that it's so easy for someone to make a mistake. Yeah. Like, companies are struggling to hire the correct platform and DevOps engineers. So it's fairly frequent that you will go and do a pen test and you will find a lot of issues with their infrastructure. Maybe some of them will not be exploitable from the outside world, but for like internal threats or like lateral movement after a compromise of a web application, something like that, these kind of mistakes can be like so bad. Just think all the data that's stored in AWS accounts, like customer data or credit card data, all that kind of thing that happens in the cloud for all the services that you use on a daily basis. It's probably being run in AWS.
Yeah.
Probably over 1/3 of the internet is running on AWS. So yeah, there's so many services. Carlos and I thought that there were no good like official trainings. You can self-host your own trainings and things like that. But there's nothing like where you go and you get the training you need, you get a certification, you pass an exam, and you can put it on your CV like, okay, I did this and someone says that I've done it. It's, all that we've seen is like kind of self-served training for AWS. So it's super cool to have come with the idea, and we developed the ARTE course. We included so many different services, which you can see here in the sidebar. There's a lot of them. So this that I showed you about IAM update assume role policy is just one pretty easy privilege escalation. We have over 50 labs. Probably around 30 of them are privilege escalations.
Wow.
So there's a lot more to learn here. Not always as simple as this one. We didn't want to showcase a really difficult one just for the sake of the video getting understood. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I totally want to emphasize, I would love to drill down into like, look, this is the tailored custom training, and especially like leading up to certification and like the exam. And like, look, you can get your certificate, you can get the stamp of approval that demonstrates all the merit, all the competency that you learn from something like this. That is awesome. And I'm excited. Like, it's crazy to me. You have so many labs. Is there another demo that you have in your back pocket? Anything else we can cruise through or speed run?
Yeah, I thought another simple one that we can run through really quick was with the simple queue service, which is kind of a queue where you post messages and then other consumers receive those messages. So I was going to do the first one, which is public SQS it's really simple. There's a SQS that's publicly available on the internet, so anyone can pull it. And we get some credentials for it, for a user. These credentials are not really needed, but they help us with some of the enumeration, so it's not messy. So let's export those. Actually, let me unset my other ones, just to make sure that we start with a clean slate. And now export those. We can do AWS STS get correct identity just to make sure that we are indeed SQS Lab 1 start point. We could go through the trouble of looking what permissions this user has, but I think it's not worth it since we just showcased that. So this user can list queues, and we can see there are two queues, one for Lab 1 and one for Lab 2. We're going to be interested in the one for Lab 1. And to receive a message from a queue, it's as simple as just running this AWS command, which is receive message. And this will receive the first message in the queue, which is this flag. Messages don't get deleted automatically when they are received. You need to actually go and delete the message once you have processed it. This makes it so you can like make sure that you finished processing a message before you delete it in case there's any errors, and you don't handle those exceptions. It gets like you have to retry it to consume the next one. So yeah, that is our flag. We paste it here, submit, and we have a completed lab. So this is a pretty simple one.
I mean, I like that one. I know it's simple, but look, it's a breadcrumb. It is literally step 0, and like I can see, like scrolling through, there's still so much more to dig into, and even just the exposure and association with, hey, SQS code build. I see Beanstalk in there. I see DynamoDB. I recognize all the things like, oh, I know we use that at work, at my job. And again, just a third of the internet run in AWS. So many folks are in this ecosystem. It would be incredible to learn how to secure it and even sometimes how to break it, doing some of that red teaming and hacking. I need to do that just as well. Man, I got to go through this course here.
You have a voucher, so take your time, go through the labs, and make sure to do the certification. We would love to hear your feedback.
Now, I know with some of these, small, simple ones that we could showcase, but are there any of the really cool, really complex, kind of elite, like sweet tradecraft that you're really proud of that you think is super cool within the course? Do you have any favorites that you love?
So I think my favorite one is actually in the ECS category.
Ooh.
And it's this one here. Accessing another container from the host. It involves like you get a shell in a container running in ECS, which is like the container service that like a managed container service that AWS offers. So you get a shell in a container, you have to escalate privilege to the host, which is a bit of like not so much related to AWS hacking, but more like container security, a bit more generic cloud security stuff. And then from that host of the ECS cluster, you need to go and look for other containers that are running other ECS tasks and steal credentials from one of them and that allows you to get the flag from a DynamoDB table. So this is one that we've had a really good feedback about, and it's a bit more complex. Like typically the other ones, some of the other ones, like the ones we just showcased, can be solved in like under 15 minutes. But for this one, people require a bit more time. And yeah, I'm really proud of this one.
That's cool. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to digging into it. And I mean, looking at the whole interface here, this is just very slick. Is this like, and I have to ask, just kind of from like the creator perspective, because I'm super interested in, hey, putting together training. And, you know, we've done Capture the Flag together. And like, even the interface, is this Podia? Is this Teachable? Is this Thinkific? Or is this completely custom? Did you build all of this?
This is completely custom, all built by myself. It took like 7 months to build all of it, and the labs and everything. So yeah, everything is automated. Like as soon as someone activates their voucher, a lab is created for them. All the resources in the AWS account get created for them, and they can reset it. All the cleanup is done automatically. So pretty much maintenance is very low, except when things fail, which they do because cloud stuff tends to break. So yeah, all completely built by us.
That's awesome. That was going to be my next question was, hey, how long did it take to put it all together? But my goodness, I hope you and Carlos are super duper proud of this thing all coming to life. It's an incredible success, and I'm excited to see it just take off. Is there more of a panel, or like you mentioned, hey, is just the infrastructure spin up, spin down? Is that something that the users can get into?
Yeah. So as you see here, we can see in the labs it says lab provision, and then your account ID for AWS.
Nice.
But if you go to the dashboard here in the lab part, you can reset your lab. You get 3 lab resets every 24 hours and 1 per hour. So it can be like abused. But in case you see that your lab is malfunctioning, you can go ahead and reset here. It's not too often this happens, but some cases it does. You can get the labs into the wrong state.
Gotcha.
Like, you can break it if you really try. And yeah, then for the exam, we have this cool feature where the exam is made of 3 flags. So it's a black box scenario where you're just given like a URL and you start from there and you gain access to an AWS account, and then you have to like move laterally, privilege escalate in order to find the 3 flags. But if you submit a PR to the Hacktricks Cloud book, you will be able to only submit 2 flags instead of 3. Those would be the first 2 flags.
Wow.
Which normally people who submit PRs, they actually are able to find all 3 flags. But yeah, it gives them a bit more confidence that they're going to pass the exam.
That's super cool. I love that extra points effort there. And the exam sounds phenomenal. I do love all practical, all application based, and just even starting from a simple URL and then a whole takeover for an AWS environment. It's just crazy cool. Can I ask what would a successful student kind of be able to go do after you complete the training? Is it like, sweet, I'm job ready, like I'm a cloud security penetration tester, red team expert, or I don't know, what is can I ask, do you see more incentive or the incredible things people can do after taking ARTE?
Yeah, so we believe that once you've completed the labs and done the exam and passed, which if you complete the labs, you should be fine to pass the exam. Unless you get stuck, but I guess that's the same with every single certification. Once you've completed the certification, you will be able to just do an AWS pen test professionally with the correct methodologies and write a report and be a cloud security engineer for AWS, specifically for the offensive part, not so much the defensive part.
Still, I think it's really, really cool because there are not many that I know that do that. You know, I'm stuck in the traditional sort of endpoint security mentality, but it's still just phenomenal to see all this cloud security be embraced. And just like you I think we've shared, there's not a whole lot out there that does it this way in the focus of ethical hacking and penetration testing and that red team expert. So kudos to you all. I hope it feels really, really cool that, hey, you've poured everything that you know into this and now can share that with everyone, and they can learn everything that you've learned. That's just cool. Now, my last question, and I'm sorry, but this one may be especially personal, because I'll be the first to admit, I don't know much about AWS, and I would call myself a beginner. This would be a whole new world to me. And is ARTE still something that maybe I could kind of grapple with and grok and understand? Is it all the training and even the exam to a certain extent beginner friendly? How do you say that?
Yeah, so we believe it is. We actually have some students currently running the course that have never been related to AWS in any way or form. They have no experience with cloud at all. And they're working through it. Some of them have been struggling a bit more than others, but it looks like they're working through it. And the only knowledge that we think people should have when coming to do this course is just some basic terminal usage, like Bash, like in Linux terminal or whatever you use. Some people might be using PowerShell from Windows or whatever. A bit of network knowledge, not much, but just understanding a bit how things connect. Maybe trying to know why something is not reachable from the internet, things like that. And that's pretty much it. As long as you're a bit techie, a bit of programming, not much, but slightly bit, mostly in Python. That is for some of the labs relating to Lambdas, which are all Python-based, the ones that we created. But yeah, nothing crazy. So yeah, totally beginner-friendly in our opinion.
Cool. That's great to hear. Again, I think it's just incredible. There's a way now, thanks to you both, to conquer that whole AWS mountain that is, again, a little bit overwhelming. Sometimes it can get a little bit scary and intimidating just how much there is. But this is phenomenal, and I'm stoked to see it. I'm just excited for all the incredible success. And I'm going to dive in. I believe we'll have a link in the description for anyone that is curious and wants to go, hey, dive into Hacktricks training and tackle the exam. But seriously, I cannot say it enough. Incredible work, both you and Carlos. And hats off. I'm excited to see where all we go. Hacktricks Training has also released a smaller version of the course called AWS Red Team Apprentice. You can check it out with my link below in the video description and use my discount code John Hammond. Thanks so much for watching.